That was good dinner.
It's tasty.
It's easy. Like I said, it's one of the favorites. You just chop an onion up, chop a pepper up, do whatever you want with the sausage, and throw it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we're here. We're talking about cooking.
Yeah. Yeah,
Make
we
it
are.
easy. Camp cooking is just a different style. It's more basic but more complicated kitchen cooking if you got the right setup. And the setup is kind of where we start.
Well, I think really the biggest thing about it is the preparation.
True.
Like
that is where we start.
That's really what makes it key, because how you prep to cook in the woods is going to drastically change what you're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of people out there that never believe I'm actually making steak and shrimp tacos in the woods. But as random people at Big Dogs, and anyone in our group can attest, that is absolutely what we're doing.
And then everyone walks over.
Yep.
Yeah, preparation is huge. And my preparation is usually going to the store, picking out a pack of sausages, picking out a few fresh peppers and onions, and then a 12-pack of eggs, or 16 or 18, I guess it is, depending on how long we're going to be there. And eggs for breakfast, maybe some bacon. Throw some bacon in there, get fancy. Eggs and bacon for breakfast, and then
I think bacon's pretty much a staple at this point. Like it's that's not getting fancy. Fancy
so
was the morning I made steak, egg, and cheese sandwiches. That was fancy.
Well, so bacon is a staple. When we were in the Outer Banks last weekend, I wake up at like 6 o'clock every morning and make bacon. Or not make bacon, but make breakfast, because I got to leave for work by 7.
I say bacon every day. That's a little aggressive.
I used to. It was nice. It was a good life, bacon every day. But you don't do a whole package. You just like cook 2 or 3 strips, and you throw the egg and the bacon grease after you're done cooking it.
Well, yeah. Remember when we were at the Cove? I think it was it Quist's bachelor party?
Maybe.
When I cooked those eggs the next morning, and Walsh lost his mind.
Was that when we had the house the first time?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And Walsh lost his mind the next morning because he saw me cooking the eggs in the bacon fat.
Yeah, I don't know why he's never seen that before.
I don't know.
What an animal.
Sylvester was just as taken aback by that fact, because he was just so enamored and shell-shocked that I was using the bacon fat to essentially fry the eggs.
Yeah.
And
I'll even do scrambled eggs in bacon fat.
Oh, yeah.
Pick up some of that extra sauce.
Let's be honest. Anything in bacon fat, I mean, you're on the right track.
Unless you're watching Chopped, and they're doing like goat fat French fries, and you're like, oh my God, I could not imagine.
Like I said, if you're cooking in fat, you're on the right track.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was duck fat. They did French fries in duck fat, and I'm like, oh, talk to me.
That's a classic, because I'm pretty sure there's a dish where it's not like fries per se, but it is frying potatoes in duck fat. I'm pretty sure there's actually a dish that is that, which is what that inspiration was from.
I've had duck like twice in my life, and it was always an experience.
Yep, it's fantastic. Not really. Well, I mean, I guess technically you could cook it in the woods, but that's
like real fancy.
Duck. Well, besides being fancy, duck is a very delicate meat. You have to be very, very careful when you cook it. So not necessarily something I would recommend doing in the woods, but if you can pull it off, more power to you. You're a better man than I.
Yeah, so preparation is where you really start. You start at the grocery store, then you start with preparation, getting everything ready at home.
I mean, yeah, because the biggest thing is, like I said, we've kind of gotten our meals down pat. I mean, everyone always loves tacos, so that's always the first thing that I put on the list of breaking down what I need, because it's not just, as you know, I don't just bring, steak and chicken or shrimp to the woods in the packaging and cook it. I marinate it ahead of time. So for me, it's usually going to the store at minimum the night before we leave, but typically 2 days before we leave on a trip, so that I can get all like the chicken or the steak or the shrimp that I'm cooking for the tacos marinated, make the jalapeno cream sauce, make anything that is going to be a task to do in the woods, I try and do ahead of time.
Yeah, it's not necessary, but it makes the camping experience a whole lot nicer when you have really quality food like that.
Yeah, quality food and stuff that, I think one of the reasons that people shy away from making quote unquote quality food in the woods is, one, they think, it's too much, right? There's kind of that like, oh, you're camping, you should be eating burgers and dogs, which is great. Like, how many times have we made burgers? Like,
every trip. That's one. That's
burgers
one meal.
and brats, burgers and hot dogs, whatever. You know, we do one easy meal, we do one fancy meal, whatever. But I think the other thing too is people look at, oh, like, what am I gonna need to do to make tacos? Oh, I gotta chop onions and I gotta chop cilantro or tomatoes. Do all that stuff ahead of time. That's what I do. I make the sauces ahead of time. You know, it's just easier. Like, could I cut onions and stuff in the woods? Absolutely. Have I done it? Absolutely. Do I want to continue doing? Hell no.
And we've all cut the cheese in the woods.
Oh my God. Shut up.
Oh.
But
be here all week.
Tip your waitresses. But I think that, you know, the preparation goes a long way towards that, of allowing you to cook what some people would see as higher end camping food. Steaks, chicken, whatever. Not to say people haven't done it before. The first trip that I took the big dogs where we met, I was camping with Woody.
Yep. And
he brought his green egg.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so he brought that, and we were cooking everything on it. You know, we did our breakfast because he also had one of those fold-up Colemans that you have. So we brought that, and like one night we ate spaghetti in the woods.
Yeah, was that?
No. I did it with Woody, and then we did it again because
my dad.
Your dad, because he had made the meatballs ahead of time. Remember? And
that was his homemade red sauce too.
That was his homemade red sauce, and God, how much? I really would love to try and calculate how much propane we used to cook that pot of water.
Boil that much water.
Oh my God! Because we did, what was it, like 3 pounds of pasta?
It was a lot
in that water. So that pot was at least a 30 to 40 quart pot.
Oh yeah.
And we had that thing about 3/4 of the way full with water. It took about an hour to an hour and a half to boil.
I think I was fixing something during that. I can't remember what.
Yeah, you were doing something on the Coleman, or I think maybe we had the grill at that. No. That was the trip where Walsh brought his little baby grill.
Oh, that's
right. And
I
tried to cook this massive, like, 1.5 pound flank steak.
That's right.
On this little tiny, like 10 or 12 inch personal Coleman grill, and the steak juice kept putting the coals out.
Oh.
So it took like 45 minutes to cook the steak because we kept having to relight the fire. We have since learned that is a no-no.
Was that the trip you were gone that we couldn't figure out how to get that 3-burner grill lit?
No, that was one of the following trips, which is weird because
it lit every other time.
Well, it lit every other time, but that also isn't my 3-burner. Like, it's not like I just have the trick to turn to the 3-burner on.
We couldn't figure out. I think
it lives at Sylvester's house.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not that hard. It's just a click one. It's not like you got to light it.
But it took forever to get it going, and I remember fighting with it for probably about an hour before I actually got dinner started.
Yep,
and that was pretty rough.
Yeah,
knowing your cooking implements the right word? Yeah, cooking implements is another huge task. So read the user manual before you just show up in the woods and burn it all in the campfire.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing with cooking in the woods is it's not that it's hard. I think obviously if you have a background with cooking,
which not a lot of people do.
No,
to be fair.
But I'm not even talking like a formal background. You know, if you're one of those people like me who grew up cooking with their parents, you know, and not just cooking along, but actually being forced essentially to be in like the head chef role for the night.
Okay.
Right. And so it was, hey, these are the dishes we're making. Here's your recipe. Do it. Right. Yeah. And so I think that's obviously anyone who cooks very frequently or anything like that, or grew up with parents who wanted them to cook, all that stuff. You learn very, very early on to prep all your ingredients ahead of time, because the last thing that you want to be doing as your steak is cooking is grating Parmesan for the mashed potatoes, because then you'll find out that you overcooked your steak and overcooked your potatoes, and it just doesn't turn out very well. And
unless you're Tom or
Craig?
Carrie's dad, Craig.
Yeah, Tom's father-in-law. He that was actually a pretty funny one. When he asked me if I was done cooking the burgers yet, as they sat on the plate off of the Blackstone, a perfect medium, which
With
is
a little
great,
red coming
which
out,
is
yeah.
great for a burger, right? I'm wholly a medium rare kind
Oh,
of guy
yeah.
when it comes to a steak, a good medium on a burger. You know, and yeah, there's Kreger, good old Kreger, sitting there wondering why the cow was still mooing. And
Dude, that was such a good burger.
and
That was the first trip you had the Blackstone,
that was the first trip I had the
and
Blackstone.
you
Yeah,
pressed them too.
yeah, because and that's what I used at the office the other day, or the shop the other day was
Ooh, the office.
the office. I work in the office. You just work in the back. But yeah, that was the first trip of the Blackstone. But like I was saying, I mean, it makes your life a whole lot easier when you have that understanding that prepping ahead of time, whether it's your ingredients, your equipment, whatever, it makes things so much easier. So, you know, like I said, when you come, you know, from a house where your parents wanted, you know, learn how to cook, because it wasn't so much of like, we want you to become a chef. It was, we want you to be able to feed yourself when you're 20 years old at college and you're by yourself,
Yeah.
and not have to eat cup ramen every night. Nothing against cup ramen. I love cup ramen. It's just not the greatest for you.
I mean, we all had a period where we lived on cup ramen.
Well, yeah, duh. You could buy a pack at Costco for $10 at that point. No inflation then. But yeah, it was great. But I think that's what, like, I don't really view it as a job. Like, I know we've talked before about how when we go out,
we have assigned roles.
Everyone's got assigned roles and stuff, and you know, I mean, obviously, I've cooked for all you guys, so you know, thankfully, you guys all enjoy what I cook, and so that makes it easy. And you know, thankfully, we're also in a group of guys who are, you know,
not
really
picky.
Well, not just picky, but always not only willing to try new food, but always interested in actually trying new food. Like, it's not one of those things where it just kind of comes along and you go, oh yeah, I'll try that. Like, we all actively talk about, like, oh, I'd love to try that, or I'd love to try that. So it makes it really nice, because I know no matter really what I end up buying and cooking, it's going to get eaten, it's going to get enjoyed. So it makes it easier for me. You know, it turns it not so much into a job or a role. It's just, I really like to cook. I don't really care where I am. You know, it's one of those things that helps me de-stress at the end of the day. So nice long day of off-roading, and I can just sit there and cook away, and everyone's having a good time. And that's the biggest part of it, is when you're already having a good time and you put good food on top of that,
it makes the time even better. And that's the nice thing. That's also the nice thing about a community cook is, I mean, you're a community cook. We call you Chefy.
Mm-hmm.
You're responsible for that, but while you're doing that, we've got people lighting a fire, fixing the other Jeeps, getting everything ready for the next day, setting up tents, so everyone can do their own thing. And that's the really nice thing about that.
Well, and I think it also, you know, with assigning different roles and everything, it also just makes the camping experience easier. It makes it more enjoyable, because you never have to think about, oh man, who's gonna cook tonight, or am I gonna have to cook for myself tonight, kind of thing. Like, the only question that ever gets asked in our group is, what's for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
And
what do I owe?
Yeah, like, yeah, how much money do I owe you, and what's for dinner? And I think that's the other thing, is portioning. We learned that the hard way, because that first trip where we had, what was it, like 22 people
and like 6 dozen eggs.
Yeah, and we severely overbought. We really overshot the mark on that. We ended up with 2 dozen eggs left over, I think a pound of sliced cheese, a pound of lunch meat, because that was back when the food truck was still at Big Dogs.
Yep.
And we, instead of, you know, we made the mistake of, instead of going back to camp, we were trying to support the food truck. You know, you buy a burger or a hot dog from them. You know, you're trying to give them business, because they had spent the weekend, you know, camping out there and making the food and stuff. And we didn't really think about that. And so a lot of our lunch food that trip kind of went to waste. I mean, people took it home, but it wasn't really used on the trip.
Yeah, so that kind of sucks for everyone too, because you bought someone's lunch for the next week and a half.
Yeah, and so, you know, then, you know, it's one of those things where when you go to break down the cost per person, you think about, man, you know, everyone's got to pay $30 or $40 for the weekend, which still isn't bad.
No,
don't get me wrong. But, you know, it's when you think about how much food that money bought but didn't actually get used, it's, you know, it's a little frustrating.
But it's a learning curve too. So
yeah,
the
absolutely.
next trip, and every trip since, we've gotten it figured out pretty well.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with that one was we went from a trip where we had 7 or 8 people, and then all of a sudden our very next trip we had 22.
Yeah, that was
Right?
a crazy trip. That
Yeah.
was our last trip in Camp 6 back in the corner.
It wasn't our last one. It was one of our last big ones. Like
Yeah.
we've been in Camp 6 a couple more times since then, but always with smaller groups. But yeah, I mean, it's I tell you what though, if you can figure out how to cook for up to 25 people in the woods, you can cook just about anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap what anybody says. Like,
Well, so your cooking background doesn't just come from at home. Your stepdad was a chef.
he wasn't a chef. He just, he was very into cooking.
Okay.
And he was very much the one who had the mentality of, this is a skill you need to have. Like, it wasn't a question. It wasn't oh yeah, this would be good to have. No. It was a necessity. And as a kid growing up, we all did the same thing. You get told by your parents, like, oh, you need to know how to do this. And we're all like, yeah, screw you. Like, I'm not going to do
you, man.
that. Yeah.
Screw you, Kat.
Yeah. Like, obviously you never say that to your parents' face, but you
No.
walk away and you go, I don't know why the hell I need to learn this crap.
But now looking back at it, you're like,
Well,
I should have learned that.
Well, and that's really what it is I look back and I really do appreciate the fact that I was pushed into learning it.
Yeah.
And not just how to cook, right? Not just like, oh, hey, this is how you cook a chicken breast. This is what you look for kind of thing, but truly how to cook, walking through, getting the ingredients, prepping the ingredients, cooking it to the finished product.
Yep.
The entire cooking process is what I learned.
Yeah.
And I'll always be grateful for that because it's something that, like, Brittany, like she burns water.
Yep.
Like it's bad. She's a fantastic baker, which blows my mind. Because she can barely pay attention to a TV show.
It's all prescriptive.
Without
You
looking.
just gotta follow the instructions.
You say that, and some of it is true, but
You can
baking
put some flair on it.
baking is really an art. I mean, there's people who can bake without any recipe, which
Oh, yeah.
blows my mind. Like
That's
cooking
crazy.
without a recipe, if you know your flavors well enough and everything, you can usually slap something together relatively easily that tastes pretty decent.
Yeah, that's my experience. Is I'm a slap together.
And
I have no
that's fine.
recipes in the bank, but you hand me some chicken, I can get it seasoned and make it taste pretty good.
And that's the thing, and that's really what it comes down to is, can you just utilize what you have, right? Like, obviously everyone knows, like, oh yeah, this is a bunch of white boys, they don't know how to season food. Like, nah, that's where you're wrong.
Come hang out with us.
Yeah, like,
Trevor-
come eat the food. Like,
Trevor can make some pretty good things. Those armadillo eggs you made last time
oh
were so good.
yeah, those, and anyone who doesn't know what an armadillo egg is, I implore you to look it up. It is a jalapeno popper that is wrapped in either beef or spicy sausage, and then wrapped in bacon, and then smoked, and then
so
right
good.
towards the end, throw a little bit of all our DC locals will know this one. You throw a little bit of mambo sauce on there. Oh, those things were great. And anyone who just puts cream cheese, like plain cream cheese in their jalapeno popper, it's good, but I strongly urge you to go cook bacon, chop it up, mix it in with your cream cheese with some sharp cheddar cheese, and that is the best jalapeno popper filling you are ever going to have.
So we got a trick this last weekend with jalapeno poppers. We were at a restaurant in the Outer Banks, and Mackenzie ordered the jalapeno popper appetizer. Came out really good. They were grilled. They had the cream cheese inside. We're like, oh, these just look like basic generic jalapeno poppers. They put the seeds in the cream cheese.
As you
was
should.
Unbelievably hot.
As you should.
It was so
It's
good.
okay. I forgive you because you're Italian and you guys aren't used to like heat. You've got crushed red peppers, but
Yeah,
you know
it goes
it's-
on everything.
It really does.
So what are you, speaking of crushed red pepper, what is your basic, since you've already seasoned everything at home, your basic camping seasonings that you bring with you?
I mean, obviously salt and pepper. Always got those. I try and keep paprika, cumin, chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder. Those you can pretty much put on anything.
Yep.
So, you know, like when I do the tacos, It's all pre-marinated. I have a marinade which I'm not gonna say the recipe to, but it's pretty banging. Well, technically I have the two because I do the like a traditional carne asada.
Is your jalapeno cream sauce not a secret recipe?
Technically no, because it's a copycat recipe.
Oh. You heard it here first, folks.
But I won't say where from. As far as our group is concerned, there's only one other person who actually knows the recipe to it. He who shall not be named, but said that yeah, we won't go into that joke. It's a little too dirty for this. But yeah.
Check out the Dirtier Nerds.
Yeah.
Not a real thing. Don't. I mean, you can look it up, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, like all that stuff is. I always love finding new stuff, new food to try, new recipes to try, especially when it comes to the camping stuff. Because anything that I feel like is easy enough, whether it's easy because I can prep it ahead of time, or just simply easy because it's something you can really throw together with a couple herbs and spices.
So how do you bring those, like your utensils and herbs and spices into the woods? Like, do herbs and spices go into... I'm not involved in this process at all. I'm usually focused on my Jeep and getting ready. Do the herbs and spices come in like little Tupperwares? You bring the whole shakers?
But yeah, most of the time I'll bring the entire shaker.
Okay. In like a big Tupperware bin? Yeah,
I usually put them in a Ziploc inside one of the plastic bins I'm carrying the other utensils in. Spatulas, knives, cutting boards, all that good stuff. All that goes together. I mean, typically recently we've been bringing like a folding table with us to kind of lay everything out on. But yeah, it's really not hard. I mean, the dry spices, because the taco meat and stuff is usually pre-marinated, the dry spices are usually more for like the burgers and the hot dogs and stuff to kind of give them a little extra flavor. I have nothing against a good just like frozen burger patty with some cheese on it on a bun.
Well, the Bubba's come pre-seasoned with cheese.
The Bubba's frozen burgers are good. But in a pinch, a decent frozen burger from your grocery store is perfectly good. And then on recent trips, on the first night when it's usually just like you, me, and Tom, because other people haven't gotten there, I've been doing those ribs.
Yep.
Those are always good with the potato salad. And yeah, it's if you guys are confused by anything that I'm able to cook in the woods, it's really not that hard. I'm not doing anything special. The ribs I get, they're pre-sauced and everything from the grocery store, so all you got to do is wrap them in some tin foil, throw them on the grill or whatever you're cooking with. Blackstone makes a lot of stuff easy.
It does. If you don't have a Blackstone, you can always bring a cast iron. It kind of works the same way.
You can bring a cast iron, or if you're using a grill, you can try and find, either like a flat top or a griddle, like a small griddle that you can put in the grill. And makes it easy to make, bacon and eggs and stuff in the morning. So you're not having to rely on a lot of pre-made stuff. You can make fresh food. Yeah,
so when I go, since we've been together as like a group, the Dirt Nerds group, I've gone probably half a dozen times by myself, different places. When I go, I bring my Coleman camp stove and a cast iron just because it makes life so easy.
Well, because you got your start cooking in the woods from the Boy Scout. You guys made stuff.
Yes and no. We did some cooking in the Boy Scouts, but my start cooking actually didn't really start until I was in Winchester. I cooked a little bit on and off with my parents when I was a kid and growing up. But
that's surprising because you guys are Italian, so that's a little weird.
So we grew up and we played a lot outside. So when we were playing outside,
Mom was cooking.
Mom, Dad were cooking.
Yeah.
So when I moved out to Winchester with my first job away from home is when I got my first start cooking, and I kind of learned by
when you
YouTube.
were at the fire department.
Yep.
All right.
Yep, because I was living on and off with my dad because he was in and out of the house.
Yep.
So I was cooking for myself then, but I was in Ashburn, so I didn't have to.
Let's. I know what you were cooking every day.
Sausage
and peppers, or chicken breast.
Yep, because I was trying to be in shape too. So chicken breast and rice.
Yeah, you used to go to the store and get that massive pack of chicken breast.
Yep.
And you would cook like 2 a day.
They're good.
It was nuts.
With eggs in the morning and a sandwich wrap for lunch.
Yep.
Because I'm a dog and I eat the same thing every day. But yeah, so when I moved out to Winchester, I realized I didn't enjoy eating bland food. I'll eat the same food, it's just got a flavor to it.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens.
So that's that's kind of where I got my start, and I've just learned from like YouTube, just like everything else in my life.
Man, YouTube certified is a real thing.
YouTube certified, learned from YouTube, and now I learn from watching the cooking channel with my fiance.
Yeah, I always, like I said, my stepdad was really the one who pushed me into doing it. Like, my mom has a couple of like dishes that she's got. You know, everyone's got those few dishes that are almost their specialty. And my mom's was beef stroganoff. That was like the number one. And she makes a fantastic chili. That was my grandmother's recipe. But I mean, that's where I started. My dad was kind of like you. My dad, you know, he has the tendency to eat the same things over and over, especially when he's been working out and everything like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I have a harder time doing that. There's certain dishes I can do that with, but not literally the same thing every day. Like if I had a different breakfast every day and a different lunch every day, I could eat tacos literally every single night and be happy. Like I could do that, no problem.
So when it comes to me for my camping setup, not just equipment, because I got my Coleman cooktop.
I was gonna say, what do you do when I'm not there? Because I usually have all the equipment with me.
So I've got my Coleman cooktop that runs in like the 1 or 2 pound propanes. That's a lot of peas. 1 or 2. The 1 or 2 pound Coleman propanes. And then I'll just bring, like I said, my cast iron. Then I'll get a dozen eggs if I'm there for 2 days. That's a dozen eggs is more than enough for 2 days.
That's aggressive.
I eat 3 eggs in the morning, so I'll eat half of that and then bring the rest home.
Okay, that makes a little more. You were about to say that you were going to eat 6 eggs a day.
Yeah,
Jesus,
that's quite a few. No, I'll eat a dozen.
Your cholesterol must
I'll
be
eat
through the roof.
half a dozen eggs over 2 days, and I'll bring bacon if I'm in the woods, and I'll cook eggs and bacon for breakfast, and I'll usually bring a tortilla wrap and hot sauce for breakfast, which works. It's a solid breakfast, gets you going in the morning.
Ain't nothing wrong with a good breakfast burrito.
Energy for the day. For lunch,
also a great thing to cook in the woods.
Oh, super easy.
Like anything you can wrap in a tortilla is money for the woods, because not only does it make it easy to walk around without needing a plate, but you can, if you're smart enough and you're prepared enough and you bring some aluminum foil, you just wrap that thing up in some tin foil and you take it in the rig with you, and there's your lunch.
Yeah, I also call it utensils, because tortilla is, you get to eat your utensils. You don't need anything else to eat except for...
I don't know how I feel about that description, but I'll let it pass for now.
You don't like calling tortillas utensils? It is the same thing. Instead of eating eggs with a fork, you get to wrap her up and...
If anything, it's an edible plate.
Edible utensils?
Oh.
No, don't like that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll think about it.
So yeah, then that's breakfast. For lunch, I bring a bag of purple Doritos, because those are everyone's favorites.
Yep, purple Doritos are the classic. Either that or Cool Ranch. Those are the only two acceptable ones.
Purple Doritos only. Then I'll either use the same wraps for sandwiches, or I'll bring sandwich bread. And then I'm ham, cheese, spicy mustard. Yep. Which is my lunch every day of the week.
But see, that I'm okay with. Like, having a sandwich every day really doesn't bother me all that much. I'm usually just like today I want ham, today I want turkey kind of thing.
But for the woods, you bring both.
Oh, yeah.
Then like a little sweet treat at the end. You gotta have dessert with a little lunch.
Well, I recently have been bringing that box of 60 Rice Krispie treats with us.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Well, they showed up at work, at the office, at the shop.
Yeah, and
they
Tom
disappear very quickly.
Ate all of them.
Yeah.
Literally all of them. Yeah, so I don't recommend, if you're going to have them, try not to have them around other people who are definitely going to eat all of your supply.
Keep them locked in the back of the truck. And then when you get one, other people ask for one, and then I'll just grab them randomly.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, I think as far as being prepared in the woods and cooking in the woods, anything you can bring prepackaged, not so much like complete meals, but Rice Krispie treats, like, because we, now Charlie makes, breakfast and lunch and stuff at Big Dogs. We've been able to save our money there by not really bringing breakfast stuff.
And if you've ever been hesitant about going to Big Dogs because you don't know how to cook in the woods, they have Charlie there now. Charlie is doing it for donations. They call it the family meal.
Yep. Because when you're there, you're family.
Because when you're there, your family just like Chili's.
Sure, we'll go with that.
I don't know which one it is. Yeah, so Charlie will cook. You can have every meal. You just got to give him a good. You don't have to give him a tip, but he works for tips.
Yeah, I mean, they basically what they're doing is they're asking for donations just to cover the cost of food. Is really what it comes down to. And Charlie will cook breakfast in the morning. Cooks egg, bacon, sausage, and they've always got buns to make sandwiches out of. For lunch, he's usually doing burgers and hot dogs, French fries, anything like that. And then dinner, he usually goes all out. He'll do
got the smoker out there.
Yeah, he's got the smoker out all day. He's doing pork butts and chicken breasts and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, definitely if you're hesitant, either about just off-roading for a weekend or camping for a weekend, definitely go to a Big Dogs event. They're going to treat you right.
Yeah, make sure you have everything you need.
Yeah, make it easy. And I think that's really what it comes down to with cooking in the woods is you just make sure you have what you need.
Yeah, and you don't have to go overboard. You can keep it super simple.
Yeah, you don't have to do what we do and do fancy meals. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with burgers and hot dogs and a can of beans, which remember when that blew Walsh's mind.
Yeah,
when
beans right on the
on
the cooktop.
Yep, when I put beans right on the grill top and left them over the open flame. He had no idea you could cook beans.
Got to peel the paper off first.
Yeah, definitely peel the paper off. But yeah,
and then a good glove so you don't burn your hand when you take it off.
But yeah, just whatever you're thinking about cooking, just make sure you understand everything that's going into that, from utensils to sides, whatever the case may be. And you can get real simple. If you just want to have burgers and no sides, go for it. I like to do burgers and beans and potato salad and stuff. We get real lucky because we have the electric cooler that we don't have to waste space on ice, so we can pack a lot more into that. And
and with burgers, you can really get as fancy as you want. If you want to bring lettuce, tomato, you can cut fresh lettuce, tomato in the woods. Or
that's the thing. You cut it ahead of time.
True.
And, you cut it and bag it up ahead of time, and you've got it right there. Keep it in your cooler, and you've got all your condiments and everything like that. I mean, most grocery stores will sell camp-size condiments, good for a couple days kind of thing for a couple people. Makes it super easy.
But the salt and the pepper and the spices last for a while if you keep them dry.
They do, yeah. So I actually have a set that I leave in the camping stuff for that reason. Garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper is the basics. But yeah, you can make it as fancy or simple as you want. It's just making sure you go through everything and know exactly what you need, just in case you're not somewhere where you have the ability to go back out and purchase more of it if you forgot it.
Preparation.
Yeah, and also just save yourself the time, right? Yep. There's nothing worse than going out for a full day, whether it's hiking or off-roading or swimming, and getting back to your campsite, and now you just want to sit down around the fire and eat some food, and the next thing you got to do is get in your car to run into town because you forgot something. Yep. Nobody wants to have to do that, especially after a long day.
And that's with the food items, the utensils, everything from cookware. Mm-hmm. We've forgotten all of it. If you got questions about us forgetting anything,
oh yeah,
we've got it all. I forgot utensils one time.
Tom forgot all of his sleeping stuff one time. Like it's it's very easy. We still it's always a learning curve. We
as a good when it comes to camping stuff. As a good campsite member, I always try and bring, if we're car camping, an extra one of most things.
Yep.
Just in case someone forgets. It's kind of harder with food. Like sometimes I'll bring my own food supplies with us when we're camping, just because it's already in my camping gear.
I usually recommend people bring snack stuff.
Yep.
Right, because you can always eat snack stuff. So if something ever got forgotten or whatever, or God forbid you knock your cooler over or something and you dump all your ice out. Snack stuff, Cheez-Its, Rice Krispie treats, beef jerky, all that good stuff. That can be eaten on the trail. That can be eaten at camp. That can be your meal for the night if you're really feeling saucy. But, it's prepackaged stuff can be your friend, but it doesn't have to be the thing that you rely on.
Well, as a camper in our camp group, I always bring snacks for myself to have.
As do I.
As when I'm ready. If dinner's not gonna be ready for another hour, I can go grab my bag of Doritos, my bag of Chex Mix, whatever it may be.
Yep.
It's always nice to bring your own food if you're camping in a group as well.
Oh yeah, and again, it's more just from a, like you said, if nobody's ready to eat yet, but you're getting a little peckish, go to your dry stock.
Yep.
Cheez-Its, chips, whatever. There you go. You can eat your nibbles. But yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, you can make cooking in the woods as easy or hard as you want it to. It's something that doesn't have to be that hard or that tedious, as long as you take the right steps to prepare yourself for it. You can make very good food in the woods without a whole lot of effort, as long as you put the effort in ahead of time. Makes it super easy to do.
Yeah, the effort and the research. You definitely have to know how to, like I was saying earlier, how to use your equipment.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have equipment, how to start a fire.
Yep.
To put your cast iron on or whatever your cooking is on top of the fire.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. Like I have my sister-in-law got it for me for Christmas one year, is I've got a little basically campfire grill that it's just essentially a grate up on legs and stilts. And you put it right over direct flame. And, you can literally go as simple as that, so long as you know how to start a fire, and you bring the additional equipment to cook on it. You can cook meat directly on it, put a pan on top of it. It's great. You can be that simple. You just have to decide for yourself how much work you're willing to put into it. And from there, you have your options.
Yep.
So... But yeah, I think everyone has the ability to do it. You just have to have the desire to do it. Yeah, the initiative, and or you find the person in your group who wants to do it, and then plenty of you guys have helped me out during cooking, prepping stuff.
There's been times you haven't been there, we got it done. Yeah,
it's not hard. Yeah, it's not hard. It's just there's plenty of guys, thankfully, in our group that are willing to pick up the mantle if I'm not able to go on a trip or something.
Yep.
But makes it super easy. And, as always, if you guys have any questions about it, let us know. I'm more than happy to go over some of the easiest meals to do in the woods to some of the more complicated ones that are still, relatively moderate skill-wise.
Yep. And if you'd like to hear us talk more about, or not us, but we can interview Trevor more about his meals and how he actually does them. What when it comes to portion size and getting all that stuff figured out.
Absolutely. It's there's definitely math to it, but it's easy enough. But like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Dirt Drive Podcast. If there's any topics that you want to hear us talk about in the future, if you want us to go more in depth, feel free to reach out, leave some comments on the threads. Other than that, hopefully tune in next time.
Yep, it should be the three of us back together.
Yep.
Should be
hopefully
Tom's finally back. We can get him sitting down with us again.
Yeah, and hopefully start to go over, how to pick your first rig, how to build it, just general kind of getting into off-roading and overlanding.
I think we're going to start a mini series on the different types of off-roading, and it'd be a choose your fighter, choose your rig, and how you'd outfit it.
Yep, and how easiest to attain it, whether you're on budget or it's unlimited.
Unlimited budgets are fun.
Yeah, they are. Not everyone has them, but they can be very fun. But yep. Tune in next time, and we'll see you guys later.
See you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.